Aloha. Welcome to Tea with Coffee, Alternative Thought Conversations. Please take a moment, you guys, to do me a big favor and click, like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and all of that. That helps me out. Thank you. So today, I am having the pleasure of having tea. I'm having lavender chamomile tea with Niaso Carter. And then the tea that I'm having today reminds me of her so much. It's very smooth and very calming. And that's totally how she is. We're going to talk about Tantra today. She's an expert in Tantra. She's been an educator for over 25 years. And she's the author of this audio guide, Tantra Sex for the Soul. It is my great pleasure to have tea over Tantra with Niaso Carter. Please welcome her to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. My tea today is green tea.
Oh, cool.
Which is very antioxidant and energizing.
Perfect. So, Niaso, can you just please tell us how you started your journey, your Tantra journey? How did that start for you?
Oh, my goodness. I was a very unhappy German teenager. I had just lost my mother, and things were not going well with my father. So, backstory is not super pretty. But it led me to start seeking very young. So, at age 13, I was starting to read self-help books, which back in the early 70s was very uncommon. And so, my search eventually led me to Buddhism. It led me to reading about primal therapy. And in a roundabout way, that actually led me to Tantra because I ended up traveling to India when I was 18 and sort of happened upon the ashram of Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, who then later changed his name to Osho. And there, he was considered a tantric master in the sense that he was very intimately informed, both personally and experientially and well-read about the topic of Tantra. And so in this ashram, he was also encouraging us to be very experimental, especially in the early days in India. That was in Pune, India. He asked us to I'll talk to you about it, and then you go exploring in the community. So it was a very experiential, as well as, we sat in front of him for 2 hours a day hearing about all these spiritual topics.
Interesting. And so you just continued that journey on and on and on and on throughout the course of your life.
Sometimes I jokingly say, the reason I teach Tantra is I know so much about what not to do. Because I was an 18-year-old in India in a very sex-positive community. Everyone was a little older than me. I was pretty, and so I had to really fend for myself in this sex-positive environment. Because not all that happened was good for me, but all told, it was still just wonderful. But I definitely know all the shadow side of sexuality as well as the amazing possibilities. So that's kind of my journey with Tantra that I feel equipped to teach, is because I had to learn a lot. It didn't just come easy.
I hear you. So here we are in this Western world where so many of us are sex shamed, right? So we're living in this sex shame society. And Tantra is popular. But people don't really clearly understand what it means. They know it has something to do with sex, so then it has this taboo over it. So just, people not knowing, I think are way more hesitant of this. What I think Tantra is a blessing. And so I want to just kind of focus on the audience of sex shame in the Western world and just ask you guys to open up a little bit and just be able to hear the blessing and what Tantra actually is and what it means. So, Nyaso, can you just like give us an explanation? What is Tantra and what is sacred sex?
Well, if you Google Tantra, you will get just a plethora and a huge range of what it is. So I'm just going to give you my very subjective, personal definition. Tantra was an ancient religion, or rather an ancient sect in ancient India and China. And so that was like 500 AD, long time ago. There was people who said, oh, sex can be a positive force if used consciously. And that would still be the explanation to this day. Sex is an incredibly powerful force. And if used consciously, it has the incredible opportunity to open us to love, to health, to pleasure, and to spirituality. So there is a lot of things happening in the name of Tantra that I don't particularly support, because there's a lot of sort of gratuitous sex, or there's a lot of things under the umbrella of Tantra, if you go on the internet, that I would just go, well, it's kind of misunderstood, even though they call themselves Tantra communities or Tantra teachers or Tantra people. For me, it's all about using that powerful force of sexuality for the spiritual journey. Now, just to understand, Tantra, the word, has nothing to do with sex. So that's already a misunderstanding right there, is that Tantra means some kind of form of spiritual sex. That's just one aspect of that understanding these ancient people had. Because they also understood that any life event, everything in life, if understood and received deeply and accepted and consciousness brought to it, was a way to God. So, you can be a tantric person and never have sex and not be interested in that aspect of Tantra.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. One of the most beautiful things that I explored with Tantra is the connection and the effective communication. Can you talk to us a little bit more about how the effective communication plays a role in the art of Tantra?
Sure. I mean, I say effective communication and healthy sexuality should be starting to be addressed for every 12-year-old in every community. And back in the day, that was the case, but because of our Christian-based societies, like you said, the sex repression has taken place. And so people are shamed about speaking about sex. People think sex should just work just fine without them needing to do anything. And that's far from the truth. In a healthy tribal situation, which there's few nowadays, kids would start going, ooh, that feels good. Oh, not that. That doesn't feel so good. It would be a natural part of, just like getting a massage or just like any other aspect of life, we would communicate about it. But somehow people have gotten shamed into being quiet about their sexual needs. And that's where so much lack of pleasure is really the end result, and so many unhappy people. So I feel like understanding Tantra has that opportunity to go, oh, yeah, you can learn Tantra just like any other skill. And it requires you jumping over that shame hurdle and saying, I need to talk to you about something. We could do better here.
Right. And, it's interesting because we live in this world where women are having a very hard time coming to orgasm. Men are uncontrollably having orgasms too quick, too often. Can you shed some light about the valley orgasm?
Okay.
And the benefits.
So I guess I'll first kind of, because you use the term valley orgasm. So in Tantra, the valley orgasm is understood as this way of being together that has highs and lows. So where you can get very, very excited, but then you go, oh, we don't want to come just yet, both the man and the woman. And you kind of just ride that plateau, if you will. And maybe you take a little dip into the valley of pleasure. Doesn't mean it's not pleasurable. It's just not that, oh, I'm going to come, it's going to be over. It's that, oh, let's pause. And there's actually something incredibly rich about that pause when we allow it consciously. And we don't think something's wrong. If we, in the sort of average normal sex, we think it should be just hotter, 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 boom, done. And that's not how Tantra sees it. Tantra sees it as this meandering path of where you just kind of travel along together, hopefully grow in love, grow in connection as time passes, and also open your physical, energetic body to more pleasure. So these stories about these, cosmic orgasms, I don't like to go too much into the whole cosmos theory of it all, because I don't want to set people up for disappointment or confusion. To me, it's just about just allowing that sort of pleasure that's relaxed. That's probably the best way to put it, without getting esoteric, which is completely unnecessary, by the way, to get esoteric here.
I hear you. So, as a couple, and I know you work a lot with couples.
I do.
I just want to kind of get an idea about the conversation that a couple has, or a scenario that they're having with each other right before they're introducing themselves to Tantra. Or is it usually one person out of the relationship that suggests and bring the other one? Because I kind of feel like both partners have to have this kind of awareness, this consciousness, before they can decide, okay, this is a journey we want to take together. This is a path that we want to take together. And since you work with so many couples, like, typically, how is that playing itself out when people are introducing themselves?
Right. Well, both have to be willing, at least a tiny bit. But I find that it's usually one partner that kind of just says, we're in a committed relationship, or whatever type of relationship, doesn't really matter, actually. And I think we can do better, or I want more. I know in my heart and in my body that more is available. I want it. And then that's when usually the search for, sacred sex or Tantra or Googling happens, and that's how people find me. And I can work with just one part of the couple, and that often happens at first, because maybe the other party is like, I don't know, reluctant. And I also sometimes I did a little bit of research. Okay, who called first? It's often the woman will say it needs to happen, but the guy then eventually gets online and finds me. and so I'm often confused. Wow, the guy. And then I always often find that it's the woman who said, we can do better. Or, sometimes not even as happy. The woman might say, something has to change.
Right.
So it's, there's all different versions of how people find me. Sometimes it's in desperation, sometimes it's in inspiration. And it doesn't matter, because the journey is the same. And it's usually a very fun-filled, pleasure-filled, beautiful journey. So, yeah. And sometimes what happens if only one party talks to me, then maybe 2-3 sessions in, the other partner will show up. There's lots of different ways that goes. Or sometimes I'll work individually with both for a little while and then together. My audio program has been a really good sort of tool, because, a partner that would have come to me might go, oh, I have her audio program, Tantra, Sex for the Soul, because that's less threatening, It's kind of threatening to come to a session. for some people. They
But
find it
I'm gonna tell you
unusual.
this. I have to tell you this because I'm listening to Tantra Sex for the Soul, and your voice, the cadence, the music choices that you use, it is just like an absolute. It's like pleasure from your ears to your soul. The sound of it is so perfect. I've listened to audios, books before and that kind of stuff, but I've never heard anything that just has completely sucked me in the way your book has. So I just wanted to tell you, you did a remarkable job. A remarkable job on the audio.
Thank you. I want that testimonial. Yeah, well, I worked on it for quite a number of years because I wanted to be non-threatening and practical and not esoteric. I wanted it to be something even someone's husband or wife who's reluctant can go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I wanted to make a lot of sense. So thank you for, enjoying it.
Yes,
that's great.
Absolutely. And anybody out there that's listening, you should go check it out because it's amazing. I'm telling you, it's a life changer. A life changer. Especially now, here we are, we're in quarantine, couples are spending more time together. What are some daily practices that couples can do just to, remind themselves of the love or just start going on this journey full force,
That's a great question. That's a great question. Before I go into that, I'm just going to mention my audio programs on Audible, on iTunes, on Spotify, I believe even. And of course, I sell it as a hard copy on my website as well as a digital download. And it has follow me guided journeys in it. But if you don't want to go there, what can a couple do? Of course, it depends a little bit what you've already done. But say you're kind of new to the concept of Tantra. The first step is to start talking about your sex life. Ask curious questions. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about? Is there anything you'd like to change? Is there anything that would feel like it could improve? Of course, one rule I often give, very simple, is when you are making love, have some eye contact now and then. Even if it's embarrassing. Even if it brings you to tears. Even if it makes you giggle out loud. Give yourself permission to do new things. So try something new and give yourself permission to be embarrassed, to feel shame, to make a mistake. Because these are all the reasons why couples don't take their sex life to the next level, is because they're so afraid of rocking the boat. So, eye gazing is probably a big one, if it works. Find what works is really the biggest one. And so in my audio program, I have some just step by step. Okay, now try this, talk about it, see what happened. How did you like it? Was it bad? Was it good? Okay, now do this exercise. And it's very 20 minutes, very structured. And I find that just like any school, any lesson, it needs to be manageable, doable, practical, structured, kind of like a tennis lesson or a windsurfing lesson, golf lesson, because then you learn certain components and then pretty soon you can put them together and be a master lover.
That's beautiful. So
some of the exercises involve certain breathing. Some of the exercises involve very specific very specific touch questions. I go into the G-spot, I go into lots of genital massage, lots of pieces, but really, in a nutshell, the message to couples is, or to individuals who want to up their game is, don't be afraid of talking about things, try new stuff, then debrief. So there's that constant understanding we're growing together, we're doing this together, we're on a journey.
So, you just mentioned singles. And are there some practices that people that are single that really want to embrace, self love and do something that's
Mm-hmm.
going to help them with that? Are there some practices in the guide that is provided for that?
Yes, there are. I call them the solo practices, the solo exercises. And they involve movement, certain kinds of movements that open your body, shaking, undulation, and they also involve some guided imagery, like in the microcosmic orbit meditation that's on my CD. That's a very standard Taoist practice from ancient China. The Taoists were the Chinese version of the Tantrikas from India. They were all quite ancient practices, and they involve certain energy visualizations. But again, I usually say to people, take everything with your way, because the most important thing is that you start being kinder to yourself, that you start loving yourself to the best of your ability more, and that you dare to let your body open. So these little exercises on my audio are designed that to do every day, so to just kind of let your body flow more openly. And that always has to be done in a context of not I need to improve, but I'm going to be nice to myself by shaking, by undulating, by breathing, by imagining my energy opening up. So it's all about self-love in the end.
Yes. Love is always the answer, isn't it?
It is.
So, are there some in your book, in your guide? I was looking at it, and I'm not sure I covered this area yet, but it was like a 30-day practice.
Mm-hmm.
Is there? Can you talk to us about what that 30-day practice entails?
Yeah. What I find with couples and individuals on the journey is that I recommend that they do my exercises one for 30 days every day, because I find one of the pitfalls, even with people that come to vacation here to work with me, and then they go back home and they get busy, and like anything, if you just try it once, it's not going to make that much of a difference. I mean, sometimes even one key exercise will make all the difference. It's just like will blow people wide open, and it's like they'll never be the same. But more often than not, it's like a muscle. Even that eye gazing thing, you have to practice it and have it in the right context. So it's not a staring contest, but rather a true meeting of the souls. And so that's why I say just do it for 30 days. Whether you're a single person, just do one of the 3 solo exercises every day. The shaking, the undulation, the guided meditation. And to the couples, I go just work through the exercise one by one. The solo ones, the guided ones, the assignments. Just pick one each day. And don't drop out, because sometimes there might be a moment when something didn't work. And somebody might have gotten their feelings hurt, or somebody might have gotten disappointed and go, let's give up. And so that's why I do the 30-day thing. Just like any meditation practice, it's sort of a discipline almost, a practice. So I give that to couples for that reason.
In the sex shame world that we're in right now, I am imagining that in those first 30 days, it can be, very interesting for the couple, almost like them relearning themselves all over again, and opening up this line of communication. And of course, that can be like very vulnerable for people.
Yes.
How are they working through? How are you guiding them to work through those moments? Because there's certain feelings that just come up, and they are natural feelings, and of course the way we address them means everything else in the world. But how are we dealing with these like uncomfortable, I'm coming out, I'm being vulnerable type situations?
That is such a significant, important question you just asked, because that's indeed true. A lot of vulnerable things might come up. And couples who are already in therapy and they're well versed in their inner world, it might be easier for them. But couples that are new, that's kind of where I come in. And I might say, if you get stuck with the audio program, talk to me so I can talk you through, the shameful moment, the embarrassed moment, especially if there's a trauma issue that comes up, which can, because often we hold back because we don't want to go to that trauma or that memory or any of that. So I kind of say to people, if you do get stuck and uncomfortable things arise, relax, be incredibly accepting, and with your partner, just keep accepting and relaxing into it all. And there's nothing that is wrong. You can't do it wrong. That's probably one of the things I say the most. I say, you can't do it wrong. And forgive yourself if something went south. And try again. But if some real repeated issues come up, that would be the time to have a session with me or your psychotherapist or whoever you trust. Because sometimes we do need a little extra help to get to those vulnerable emotions and to work through them in safe and healthy ways.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. So, Nia, so can you talk to us about Tantra, sex meditation, and any real forms of tantric meditation, and kind of give us a little special treat and just take us on a little journey?
Okay, and since I'm not sure if my audience is mostly couples or singles, and I imagine it's a little of both. Okay. I'm gonna give one of each. So for couples, a real simple exercise, not easy, but simple, is to slow your next lovemaking down 100%. And so I call it the tantric sex meditation, is to make your lovemaking so slow. I mean, you can start out normal, or you can just say, let's do the tantric sex meditation and not even get highly aroused. And the exercise is for at least 15 minutes. Only move enough to where you're not completely, like the penis gets so soft it slips out, but just relax, keep relaxing, and dare to start focusing on the sensations in your genitals, in your body, as the main focus. So the focus is no longer on orgasm in that moment. The focus is on sensation and relaxation and opening. And so when you don't try and make something happen, if you're like, okay, we're going to back off from orgasm, we're going to just be with sensation, that moment can be so rich. So that's one of my key, there's rarely a couple where at one point or another I don't give them that assignment. Because it often changes everything. That relaxing, that stopping the performance, all about relaxing and sensing, no outcome, that often is a game changer for people. And so for singles, I give a similar assignment. I say, when you self-pleasure, make it not about coming, but make it about relaxing more deeply than you ever have. Use that pleasure of the touching of yourself. Use the movements of your body as if you are making love, with this idea that there's nowhere to go. I'm not trying to have an orgasm. I'm trying to love myself. So those would be my kind of moment of the day exercises for you out there.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful, and I hope everybody can just take that on and practice it. Especially in this time that we're living in right now, where we are being social distanced, and really in a time where I'm not sure that we could really afford such a thing. So here we are, like, really taking some isolation time and learning how to communicate with each other again, and learning how to love each other again, and how important that is to us as human beings. So that's like the main inspiration for me, even having these conversations, is to just kind of get in touch with who we are as human beings, and accepting each other, and just slow down and look and remind ourselves of the love, because that's always the answer.
And of course, in this unusual time, it can go a lot of different directions. Some people can start feeling despondent, going on each other's nerves. And that's where I say, this is the perfect moment to use my guide, anybody else's guide. Use some guide to kind of step by step up level your game, both in communication and in sexual communication. So yes, this is it could be a better time that most people have a little more downtime than usual, even if they're still working. I mean, some people are working more than ever, but hopefully they'll have time later on. I hope for them. But yes, and use my audio program. It's not expensive. And I'm actually currently also doing 50% off because of this timeline and people having money considerations. I'm doing 50% off an initial session, and I'm willing to discounted sessions as needed. So.
Oh, perfect. Oh, that's great. So take advantage of that. I'll definitely be calling you to take advantage of that too.
Good.
I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you here. So thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. My pleasure as well.
Mm-hmm. And until next time you're on the show, have a beautiful day. And
thank you. And just tell people how to find me. Best way to find me is at sacredloving.net. I'm also on Facebook under Niaso Carter, or my blog, or my page is True Tantra. But sacredloving.net will direct you to the audio, whether you buy it on Audible or wherever you buy it, and has some a lot of blog posts and free stuff as well.
Cool. Please click, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to add some of Niaso's links to her book and her website so that you can keep going into the conversation and click that on, and it'll take you right to it. So now I'm going to take this moment, Niaso, you'll be with me while I do this, to talk about seeing you guys for tea next week. Next week, I'm going to be interviewing Alizeti Wanubi, and she has a meditation clinic. She is a life coach and spiritual coach, and she's just going to be talking to us about, of course, some more self-love practices and meditation. Currently, we're doing a meditation daily together in the mornings at 9 o'clock Hawaiian time. Central it's 2, and then Eastern it's 3. Just to be on a vibration together, and let's just kind of start our day like that, just connecting with everybody on the meditations. So she's going to be talking more about the development of the meditation clinic that's in progress right now. So join us next week, and we're going to have tea with Alizeti. Okay? Aloha, everybody. Go out and have a wonderful day.